Good morning. Welcome to the Board of Commissioners monthly meeting of March 3rd, 2026. We start our meeting with the pledge. Those who can, please stand and join us at the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, agenda review, Bob?
Madam Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right, we'll start this morning off with some public comment. And the public comment portion of the board meeting allows an opportunity for citizens to address the county board in a public setting. We have several individuals reach out to provide public comments to the commissioners. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. There is a five-minute time limit. I've asked the county administrator to give you a 1-minute warning and let you know when your time is allotted. Comments from the public are expected to be civil and respectful. The board will not take action today, but will direct county staff to respond appropriately to issues raised. I'll now ask Ms. Jane Dow to come forward to the podium. State your name and address for the record, please.
Jane Dow, 37 Capri Drive, Mankato.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for your valuable public service. I really appreciate the important job that you do working with the state and federal levels of government. But I strongly feel that you as public servants need to call out this billionaire bill for what it is, morally wrong and undemocratic. A quote from the Free Press article wisely pointed out that the instinct to look away is one of the most consistent patterns in democratic backsliding. Democratic backsliding happens when power hardens against the people it is meant to serve. I am asking you to speak out against this democratic backsliding and this hardening against the people from this administration. You must call out the injustice of the budget cuts as well as the ICE operations against our community. I want to call attention to the courageous move that Olmsted County made, the commissioners made, and many others in our state and across the country when they sent a letter to the federal legislators and President Trump calling out the bill and urging them to restore the Medicaid and SNAP budget, because cutting these funds would have devastating results for their counties. Olmsted County explained that Medicaid is the lifeline for people with disabilities, poor adults with disabling diseases, and thousands of children. They pointed out that Olmsted County does not have the workforce to manage the increased workload, and cuts would result in individuals losing their coverage and the need to raise property taxes that would hurt the most vulnerable. I'm asking you to follow their example, call out this bill as immoral, and request that legislators reinstate our important social safety net to protect our most vulnerable. The one big billionaire bill will devastate millions of families, as you know. In Minnesota, it would cause up to 250,000 people on Medicaid, medical assistance, and Minnesota Care to lose coverage because of the federal funding cuts of nearly $1.5 billion over 4 years. Roughly 45,000 to 150,000 people could lose SNAP benefits under stricter eligibility rules. The bill would give $1 trillion in tax cuts specifically to the top 1%, and roughly $170 billion of our public tax money to fund ever crueler mass ICE raids. The cuts to programs like SNAP and Medicaid to offset the billionaire tax cuts and ICE funding are unconscionable and outrageous. It's false to claim that the United States does not have the abundance of resources to overcome poverty. We cannot allow this false narrative to perpetuate and deepen our income and wealth inequality. Our national debt could be dramatically reduced by taxing billionaires, as they should be, and fully funding these important safety nets for working Americans. We need to require the wealthiest to pay their share. Removing basic services and increasing wealth inequality create poverty, unnecessary suffering, unstable communities and economies, increased violence, drug use, mental and physical health problems, homelessness, and a host of other ills. Concentrated wealth and unchecked greed undermine our democracy and make our communities unsafe. This isn't a political statement. This is a moral choice between what is wrong and what is right. It is a courageous statement that you could make, just like Olmsted County did, and multiple other counties, and other officials. You would be proud to be on the right side of history. Secondly, you must speak out against the atrocities and lies perpetuated by ICE with impunity. ICE has been allowed to target people through racial profiling and deport them without cause when they are here legally or seeking legal citizenship. 73% of people detained have no criminal record. ICE has cruelly separated families and caused businesses and families to suffer financially and emotionally because of their reign of terror. And most despicable of all, this administration has presented a false narrative, blaming and scapegoating immigrants for our economic woes in hopes of keeping us from realizing that the real cause of our economic problems are billionaire tax cuts. You must speak out against this brutality and this false narrative. Thank you for finding the courage and decency to stand up and demand that the administration stop ICE and repeal the bill that gives billionaires tax breaks while harming the rest of us. I'll give you these statements. I also included statements from county commissioners in Minnesota opposing the bill and speaking out against it, and letters from 36 states by 900 state and local elected officials who have spoken out. So those can be good examples. Should I just leave them with the secretary?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Now we'll have Kathy Sahlstrom.
Good morning. Kathy Sahlstrom, 20177 Old Highway 66, Mankato. Thank you for the opportunity once again to speak with you. I appreciate receiving Mr. Meyer's letter representing the voice of your Board of Commissioners in answer to requests from speakers at the last meeting. From the letter, I can gather that the board is digesting the changes in funding to SNAP and Medicaid by meeting with state and federal delegations, Senators Klobuchar and Smith, Congressman Finstead, Deputy Secretary of the USDA, and 6 others in D.C. Mr. Meyer's letter describes meetings, discussions, work sessions, and conversations. As I understand it, the outcome of those meetings amount to identifying factors of potential impacts, estimates and costs, learning about administrative changes, and the need to raise property taxes. You're waiting for additional guidance, data, and funding details to better understand the scope and fiscal implications. But the fallout is already happening. By all accounts, the SNAP eligibility requirements begin April 1st, and if I stand corrected, I would love to know that. It's inconceivable that you don't have the necessary information to know who the people are who will be affected, and it's my understanding that the county will administer this travesty. And it's my understanding that the worry, anxiety, and stress on those who require the safety nets and are grappling to understand what less will mean to them is taking a toll. I have an article in February 27th's paper about major changes, many to be kicked off SNAP due to eligibility rules. And I'm thinking this man's name must be on a spreadsheet somewhere, that he knows this. Right this minute, I don't know who in my extended family, who I oversee health care, who are disabled in one way or another, will be suddenly deemed able-bodied and will either work or lose their SNAP benefits because they can't. Able-bodied doesn't have anything to do with mental capacity, brain trauma, and so forth. Those of us who want the best for our most vulnerable neighbors want to know the impacts of less funding and how Blue Earth County will address the gaps in real numbers. It's imperative that the county quantify available funding in dollars and cents comparatively with the previous year. Taxpayers deserve to know the monetary impact we're all suffering because of the one big bill diverting our tax dollars to the wealthy and ICE. I demand that a financial impact statement be published and accessed via Blue Earth County's website as soon as possible. And my request remains for the Board of Commissioners to write a resolution, as you've heard from Jane, or a formal statement from Blue Earth County for the repeal of the One Big Budget Bill on behalf of your constituents who are being robbed of their dignity. And as Jane said, this county would not be the first to do so. I acknowledge that this board is in a position I don't envy, but I wish you clarity. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll now move into the County Ditch 63 redetermination of benefits hearing. Gentlemen.
Good morning.
All right.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the final hearing for redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 63. The first item is an agenda review.
Madam Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
Move the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Being no changes, is there a motion? Oh, we did that already. Okay, the purpose of today's hearing is to listen to the viewer's report and receive comments from all parties interested in the redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 63. The order of business for this hearing is as follows. Staff will review the jurisdictional documents. We will hear from the appointed viewers, and then we will open the hearing to public comments. I will ask Blue Earth County Drainage staff to review the jurisdictional documents.
There was a landowner information meeting held on August 26, 2025. Hearing notices for this hearing were mailed on February 9th, 2026. Notice was posted for this hearing outside the Blue Earth County Historic Courthouse located at 204 South 5th Street, Mankato, Minnesota, 56001. Notice of the public hearing was also published in the Mankato Free Press for 3 consecutive weeks, including the dates of February 12th, 19th, and 26th of 2026. The Blue Earth County Ditch 63 watershed is approximately 1,100 acres in size and is located in Decoria Township. On May 14th, 2024, the Blue Earth County Drainage Authority approved a findings and order initiating a redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 63. Viewers were appointed in order to create an updated benefits and damages listing and the viewers report for County Ditch 63. A copy of the drafted viewers report for the redetermination of benefits was submitted to the Blue Earth County Drainage Management staff on August 26, 2025. On February 3rd, 2026, the Drainage Authority approved setting a final hearing date for the redetermination of benefits of Blue Earth County Ditch 63 for March 3rd, 2026. We request the approval of the drafted and subsequently amended findings and order approving the viewers report, including updated benefits and damages for County Ditch 63.
Thank you, Craig. Is there a motion to accept the jurisdictional documents into the legal record?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Now we'll ask Mr. Mark Behrens, the appointed viewer for these proceedings, to come up and review the viewer's report. Oh, it's not Mr. Mark Behrens.
West today.
I drew the short straw, so I'm one of the other viewers that worked on this process.
Thanks,
I'm
Wes.
going to try and speak to everybody here. So, my name is Wes Dahl, along with Mark Behrens here. We're two of the ditch viewers that worked on this process. We're members of the Minnesota Viewers Association. There's 4 or 5 trainings you can go to per year to become accredited to become a ditch viewer. There's about 3 or 4 other groups throughout the state that do viewing. So whether it's our group or another group, the process would be similar. In order to determine benefits, there are 5 main items we use to determine everybody's benefits. 1, the number of acres that are within the system, the soil types of each parcel, the location rate, how far your property is physically away from the county open ditch or county tile, whether or not you have county tile on your property, and the efficiency of the system. Those 5 items come together in an equation to determine the benefit value. When we add everybody's benefit value up, we just divide your benefit value by the total to become to get the percent of total benefits. So when there's repair or maintenance on the county system, each parcel has to pay their percent of total benefits times the cost of the repair. We have, throughout our process, we have landowner meetings to explain the process. All of our contact information is on the information that was sent to landowners. We will meet with anyone who wishes to visit with us about their property. We build a book on each ditch system that has all the landowners' information and property on it. And we don't show that any private tile maps to anybody else, but we will show how we broke out their parcel or their neighbor's parcel because it is their information. But we do not show private tile maps. And we have kind of a standard way we break out each parcel, and then we adjust our numbers up or down according to what we learn from landowners on anything that might be unique about their parcel. These numbers are always kind of moving a little bit up and down based on any information we learn from the public up until the public hearing. We try to address any concerns or issues prior to the public hearing, because at the public hearing, we cannot change any information today. If there's any new information brought forward, the board has the option to pass the information as we present it, or to reject it or table it, and we can go correct that information. On Blue Earth County Ditch 63, it was established back in 1921. It has not been redetermined since it was established. There is 1,110 acres of farmland and building sites and 40 acres of state and county roads. There is 1,150 total acres on this system. And one notable change on this system from when the landowner meeting was, is we learned that there was a branch 1, which is off to the northwest, that I think originally ISG, the engineers, thought was in the system. And upon further information, we realized that system was not installed. So we had to remove about 120 acres off to the northwest that was no longer in the watershed. Plus there was a few other, 4 other spots that were either tiled in or tiled out. So those numbers were adjusted a little bit from the landowner meeting back in August. This system consists of county tile, no open ditch. There is about 7 miles of county tile ranging in size from 8 inches to 26 inches. The total benefits on this system are $1,163,000, and we based the estimated assessment off of a $5,000 value. That's all the information I have, and I will answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions?
Thank you, Wes. I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, thank you for the report. At this time, we will open the public comment portion of the hearing. If you would like to make a comment, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Comments from the public are expected to be civil and respectful. Note that this meeting is being recorded. There's a 5-minute time limit. The county administrator will give you a 1-minute warning and let you know when you've used up your allotted time. In addition, the board may restrict or limit the time allotted to a person whose remarks are repetitive or not relevant to the matter under consideration by the board. Is there anyone wishing to make comments? Please state your name and address for the record.
Chris Schenk, 59640 172nd Street, Mankato, Minnesota.
Thank you.
I'm on here today on behalf of my father, Alan and Beverly Schenk here. They're out of state right now. Question is on the redetermination of the benefits percentage. They have got mailed back on March 9th, or February 9th. The ROB, it was a draft. It wasn't the updated percentage. Also, landowners have also contacted me and seen the same thing because going to these meetings, we're wondering why that wasn't an updated.
Correct.
Okay. We it's always a draft. We can make, quite often, and I think the viewers can attest to this, we often make changes right up to today. So we could have had someone call, like even yesterday, and we could make changes. So it's always a draft that we send to landowners with the most updated information we have. So thank you.
Thank you.
So it is a draft up till today, but as of today, now it can't be changed, as Wes said.
Yeah.
So if a landowner has a question, when would the change have to happen?
You have a question today?
The question I have is, are the percentages, now these are going to be the established base percentages?
Exactly,
Okay.
yes. So it's
And
going to be the
that's-
established redetermination of benefits, and any changes in the future would have to come through another board meeting.
And that,
Hearing.
and that percentage of benefits is only for repair?
Yes,
Anything else? Just repairs?
just repair. This has nothing to do with the improvement.
Nothing to do with improvement?
No, just
I'm
repair.
Just trying to get this straight for everybody here, so, okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just to clarify, if there was an improvement, we would have viewers
Yes.
look at it again and
There would
determine
be-
what the viewers would determine what the benefit of the improvement would be then.
Correct.
So that's two separate
Two separate things.
paths.
And then the $5,000, when they use that for an example, how would you, like on our, how do you multiply the 5,000? Is that you take the 5,000 times your percentage? Or is it going to be cost of the repair? You got to know the cost of repair first.
Okay, maybe I'll have the theory report.
Yeah, so we just use the estimated $5,000, and you take your percentage times the $5,000 to get any repairs at the moment. We don't know how much the county staff has in that checkbook. If they are $5,000 in the red, $10,000 to the black. If they have a $50,000 repair, you would take your percent of benefits times that $50,000. That's how much each parcel would pay towards the repair. As of right now, we don't know that number, so we just throw $5,000 at it to have a estimated number.
Okay, that answers it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Anyone else wishing to speak to the County Ditch 63 redetermination of benefits final hearing? Last time for anyone wishing to make comments for the County Ditch 63 redetermination of benefits final hearing. Okay. Hearing no further comments, I will close the public comment portion of the hearing. So I need approval of viewers' report. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I have no questions or comments, Madam Chair. If there's no questions, I would move approval of the viewers' report.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If there's no further comments from the board, and this will conclude Ditch 63 redetermination of benefits hearing. Now we move
you.
into
A
56.
long-awaited process.
Yep, CD 56, yeah.
County
This
Ditch
has been
56.
Thank you, guys.
in the works a long time, for sure. Yep.
All right, Ryan, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Today, we're going to, looking into awarding the bid for County Ditch 56, also known as the Sant Sediment Storage Pond area. Bids were solicited for approved County Ditch 56 petition repairs, specifically the Sant Sediment Pond, per the engineer's bidding and specifications. A total of 11 bids were submitted on February 18th of 2026. The submitted bids range from $493,364.33 to $735,429.26, with an engineer's estimate of $433,004.83. The 11 submitted bids are provided in the table below, with the lowest bid submitted from MSB Excavating and Tiling with a low bid price of $493,364.33, and the highest bid received from Mathewitz Construction Company with the bid price of $735,429.26. MSB Excavating and Tiling has not worked with ISG or Blue Earth County previously. However, the references met requirements demonstrating at least 5 previous projects of similar work. ISG contacted MSB's references and received positive feedback. Based on the positive feedback from references, ISG recommends awarding the contract to MSB Excavating and Tiling. Today's action requested, we request the County Ditch 56 Drainage Authority to award the repair contract to MSB Excavating and Tiling for the total amount of $493,364.33 for the previously approved plans for construction of the sand sediment pond. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So do I have a motion for this MSB so that we can discuss it?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion.
I guess it's been said, but I would just add again, I mean, it was September 7th, 2021 was the first landowner meeting and really interested groups. I think there's a lot of people that helped us get to this point, whether it be the lake associations, the sportsmen's groups, SWCD. This has been a long time coming, and appreciate to be to this point. We want to publicly thank all those groups that have been participating for over 5 years.
Wow. Sounds good.
I agree.
Glad to be at this stage.
5 years of your history, but I will assure you it's gone on a lot longer than my history. So, and I think if I remember correctly, one of your first meetings that you had to present at was at Lake Crystal, and you had a whole room full of people, and we sorted through and gained a lot of ground there. So that's but it takes a long time to do this stuff.
All right. Any more discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, guys.
gentlemen. Next up, Carrie. The Minnesota Cyber Response Team Provider Agreement.
Good morning, Madam
That's a
Chair.
mouthful.
Commissioners.
Good morning.
Yes. So we have an excellent opportunity in front of us. Our affiliate, MnKITLA, through AMC, which is the Minnesota County IT Leaders Association, has formed a group called MNCERT. And what that group is it's a Minnesota Cyber Response Team. It's a grassroots program, and we are really looking to be able to assist counties in cyber incidents. It is merely a lending hand in regards to having meetings and asking if they followed steps A through C or vice versa. It's not boots on the ground. So we wouldn't be sending or dispatching any of our staff to this. What I'm looking for today is the acceptance of being a part of this group, to let our staff volunteer to be a part of this group, and also to enter into agreement to receive services in the case of something bad happening. Do you have any questions regarding this?
No, it's very timely, isn't it?
It is very timely, yes. I'm very excited about it. We've put a lot of work and effort into putting the agreements together. We worked with AMC's legal counsel to make sure that we had all of the right things in there, the right verbiage. And we have a group of about 16 right now that have volunteered to be a part of this program. We're hoping to go district-wide. Instead of having just a big group, we're hoping to go district by district as the group grows larger.
Great.
Well, I would move to approve.
I'll second it. Thank you. Any more discussion?
No, sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you, this day and age, this is exactly what we need. And get the whole state involved with if any issues are happening. That's a great idea. Thanks for your work on this.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ryan Tilges, Public Works.
Commissioners.
Good morning,
Morning,
Ryan.
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 All right, we've got a relatively full agenda and a lot of information to go today, so we'll get right after it. The first action item is consideration of bids. For a 2026 all-wheel drive, 270 horsepower diesel motor grader, we received 2 bids. Our typical bidders, RDO Equipment with a John Deere 772P and Ziegler Caterpillar with a Caterpillar 150. The John Deere was the low bid at $446,045, and the Caterpillar was $468,310. The trade-in amount on the John Deere was $94,000 compared to $82,550 on the Caterpillar, for a total of $352,045 for the John Deere compared to $385,760 for the Caterpillar. Our budget amount for this was $405,000, so it's well under our budget amount. You know, when budgeting for these, we were anticipating where our tariff's going to land us, and we wanted to try to be conservative with those estimates. So this is great to see. I think one of the differences we saw in comparison to last year's bids, the price of the unit itself is up about $10,000, which when you look at it as a percentage, it's not terrible. But what we did see is about a $20,500 increase in the trade-in amount, and that's because we went from a 2013 John Deere 670 to now we're trading in a 2015 John Deere 770. So the machine is 2 years newer, comparatively speaking, than the other one was, and it also was a larger machine, where that was the last of our 670s. Get rid of those smaller, more underpowered machines for what we do. We also had in the bid the walk and pack handy hitch rollers. RDO was low on that as well, $37,600, so which was budgeted at $45,000. So with that, I would recommend approval of the bid award to RDO Equipment for the John Deere 772P and the walk and roll WR90 Series 3 roller.
All right.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I don't recall the specs on these, Ryan. Are these all-wheel drive?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the staff have been very pleased
I
with
think
that
we've
decision.
changed that a while ago. I just want to
Yes,
make sure we're
thank
still
you.
doing that.
Great idea.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Action item number 2 is consideration of final contract payment for State Project 007-009013. This is the County Stated Highway 9 Bridge removal project that utilized Federal Highway Administration emergency relief dollars as well as some state disaster funds. The contract was to Hoser Worldwide. The original contract amount was $1,163,100. Revised contract amount $1,222,247.34, with final contract payment totaling $1,251,613.34, and final contract payment $12,516.13. This does include $65,000 of liquidated damages being assessed to the contractor. With that, I would recommend approval. Thank you.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Next action item is consideration of consideration of bids for State Aid Project 007-626-020. This is the County State Aid Highway 26 box culvert bridge between North Riverfront Drive and Industrial Road. We received 7 bids. Our engineer's estimate was $776,810.88. The apparent low bidder is R&E Enterprises of Mankato at $586,276, which was 24.53% under the engineer's estimate. The remaining 6 bids ranged from 9% under the estimate to 8.5% over the estimate. So R&E really wanted this work. We did verify with them that they were still comfortable with their bid, that there wasn't any errors or omissions. Question?
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, I would recommend award of the bid to R&E Enterprises of Mankato.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Action item number 4 is consideration of the MnDOT agreement number 1057892 for the same stated project 007-626-020 local bridge replacement program grant agreement. This grant agreement provides $208,267.30 of local bridge replacement program funding, with the county needing to provide a match of $378,008.70. I would recommend approval of said agreement.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, and then as MnDOT does, included in the grant application is a resolution authorizing the county to proceed with this same MnDOT grant agreement number 1057892. I recommend approval of said resolution.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. The next item included in the board packet is a railroad crossing agreement for County State Highway 5, 3rd Avenue. This is for replacement of the at-grade crossing just north of Pine Street and widening of that crossing to provide pedestrian facilities. We've been working for quite some time with the railroad on developing this agreement, finally seeing it now. And with that being said, the total anticipated force account cost for the railroad to do the work is estimated by the railroad at $548,209. We did budget closely to this in the project budget, knowing that this crossing was going to be very expensive based on our preliminary conversations. So with that being said, it lays out the terms. This project is tracking to be bid this spring. More to come on that. But with that being said, I would recommend approval of the public highway at-grade crossing agreement, UP Real Estate Project 0516676.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
That's a long time in coming.
It is.
So the project is going to be done this year or next year?
Project is going to begin this year.
It's going to begin this year.
Yep. We can go more into that when I get into the other stuff.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. With that, we can move into our informational items. Project updates. The CSAH 26 bridge replacement that was just approved is relatively wide open schedule, so once we schedule a pre-construction meeting with the contractor, we'll be able to know what their anticipated schedule is. Shouldn't be a terribly long project, being that it is a box culvert, so we'll provide you with updates as we receive them. CSAH 5 from Riverfront Drive to Summit Avenue. Project plans are near completion and really ready to be bid. Right-of-way acquisition is underway. And obviously now we've got the railroad crossing agreement in place as a key piece, but as we were finalizing the utility relocation aspects of this project, we had somewhat of a delayed response from CenterPoint Energy. And with that being said, they have a 16-inch high-pressure gas main that runs down under the road and is the only service to the city of North Mankato. And so for us to be able to relocate that line, it has several conflicts with the construction project, and it's not terribly deep in the areas where there is bedrock. They're going to have to replace the line or relocate it. We've looked at several relocation options, and we're still working through that process. Unfortunately, the relocation options require them utilizing city road right-of-way or possibly city trail right-of-way, and the city has been less than receptive to that proposed idea. It would greatly accelerate our project construction timeline if that were possible, but right now it doesn't look like it's going to be permissible. We are still exploring the city trail right-of-way option and finding an alternate alignment so that they could construct this much faster than they could through our project, and then there would be the continual crossings of the pipeline for utility services and the box culvert and the water main and sewer and storm sewer lines that'll be in our project. If it does have to stay within the county road right-of-way, it will dramatically impact our project schedule. We had anticipated pushing this project to be a one-year construction project. If their relocation is necessary within the project limits and the coordination that it'll take, it significantly has a possibility of turning this into a 2-year project, unfortunately. And it would put us on our ear to likely switching our construction sequencing and phasing around to try to minimize the impacts and delays between the contractor and the utility line.
What's the downfall of putting it via trail?
I don't know that there's a downfall of putting it under the trail or in the trail right away. I think it's just a question that there has to be some investigation of the feasibility of constructing it there by the pipeline and verifying that all of the ownership of the parcels or the land where the utility would be proposed to go into is owned properly. So effectively what we had proposed is several different options. One would be that thought that could we intercept it by the city wastewater treatment plant where it crosses, run it up the Minnesota River Trail alignment, and then across on Highway 14's right of way to intercept where it comes in on the north side of our project, getting it completely out of our project and giving them a relatively easy construction, not having to contend with other utilities and us not having to cross it, tens of times. So.
Yeah.
And again, it has to be fully completed and able to cross it over because of the service interruption that it poses.
You can't be very long with that service interruption.
Correct. Yep.
Yep.
So we had anticipated bidding that early April. That may be delayed slightly. We're also still waiting on that local road improvement program grant application where we had applied for $1.5 million of LRIP funds to help with this project cost. We can't award the project until that's been announced and we have the grant agreement in place. But we could still open bids and then see, and we're anticipating that to be the end of March. The CASA 4 bridge replacement project, we have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor tomorrow. We're anticipating they're going to want to start that relatively early if the weather turns around. So there's a high likelihood that that segment of CASA 4 between the curves north of Mapleton could be closed in the coming weeks for bridge replacement to begin. And then last but not least, our County State Aid Highway 69 reconstruction project. Right-of-way acquisition is moving forward on that as well. There's a handful of easements to acquire for that project, and we would anticipate bidding that, opening bids on April 1st for board consideration at the next board meeting. We did receive our notice of our annual County State Aid Highway fund distribution. Their increase from the 2025 amounts is at about 2.2% above what 2025, so a little bit less than initial indications had shown. From a budgeting standpoint, typically when I use our transportation improvement plan for our 5-year, I look at it from a standpoint of just using the current year's allocation dollars and current year's pricing and not trying to play the game of guessing what's the CASA fund's going to increase and what's sales tax going to increase versus what inflation is going to increase. Typically speaking, they somewhat mirror each other or are closely aligned, and then we make adjustments as time goes on and as we know those values more definitively. So not a lot of dramatic change, but those allocations were sent out. Maintenance activity updates. Our crews have obviously been plowing snow. They were out both days over the weekend. Then working on getting very close to having everything we need out of the old shop and getting moved into the new shop, still doing some, putting things away and finding places for things, in addition to some of the regular routine maintenance activities. So then last but not least, I have a rather lengthy Rapidan Dam update memorandum. It's been, there's been a lot going on and a lot of meetings, so it's been very time consuming. I want to make sure I can convey as much of the important points as I can to the board, and please, as we go, feel free to ask questions. We'll start with the 9 bridge updates. On January 29th, we submitted a letter regarding the Section 4F applicability of the Rapidan Dam Park, documenting that Section 4F applicability is not existent because of the park's closure, the indefinite closure. On February 3rd, we met with TKDA. They have a semi-integral abutment plan that is going to be reviewed by MnDOT. This design will have the deck and abutment encapsulate the steel beams on one end with the piers actually tied and moving relative to the thermal expansion of the beams. And with that being said, that design will also have to accommodate forces generated by the 3.5% bridge deck slope. So it's somewhat forces in different directions. On February 4th, we met with MnDOT State Aid to discuss project status and funding. Construction engineering can and should be claimed for reimbursement. Timeline of the 90% cost estimate is to be received in late March. Once that's received, we'll work with MnDOT to update the DDIR funding request with MnDOT and Federal Highway Administration to request additional project costs. Time extension may be required due to the funding request and the agency turnaround time from them getting the final plans. MnDOT's not sure that they can turn them around in the time that will be allotted between the deadline of when we submit them and the deadline for authorization. We discussed the process needed for Blue Earth County to perform construction inspection and administration versus hiring a consultant engineering firm to perform the work. There's pros and cons to both. However, I think, and I'll be talking with the administration about this later today, but I think there's a leaning towards our county staff doing it. Just frankly, it's going to be hard to find somebody that has the expertise that Mike has, and the cost effectiveness is much greater for us to do it ourselves. Try to be good stewards of the tax dollars. We also discussed current state aid disaster account funding levels and the feasibility of that being able to possibly bridge any gaps if there is a shortfall in federal highway ER funds for the 80%. The MnDOT is going to investigate that. I haven't received a response yet on that, so I need to probably follow up. On February 10th, we participated in a project management team meeting with TKDA. We discussed the MnDOT time extension again. They're going to be engaging their constructability specialists for contract provision development for special provisions directing the contractor how to proceed with the work. They stated that their project permitting seems relatively straightforward, so that's good news, I guess, to hear that. On the 17th of February, we met with TKDA again. They were working on finalizing a cost overrun justification letter for submittal to the county and then to MnDOT, and working on a change order for design support during construction. It was listed in the services, but amounts weren't put to it. But what we would like to do is a change order so that they would be able to provide design support. So if there's questions on the design from the construction project or review of shop drawings that need the design engineer's review, they would be able to do that for us. The big takeaway from that discussion was that the steel beam fabrication is anticipated to be 1 year, delivery 1 year from the date of order. So, you know, we'll have the work leading up to it, which is obviously why this is a 2-year-long project. Sure. On the 24th of February, we met again with TKDA and discussed their draft cost overrun justification report. It included a justification for increased costs for the bridge project since the original DDIR. Some of those factors were that the original cost estimate was total cost, the original cost estimate was for bridge removal and new bridge was $20,750,000, of which 80% was federally eligible. The new river bridge, as you know, requires a more robust foundation to withstand the future river scour. The new permanent repair is estimated to be $28,500,000. The original cost assumptions were listed, and justification of proposed construction is provided. We're reviewing it, and we're going to be making comments, and then we'll be getting that over to MnDOT and Federal Highway. As we move on to the dam, on January 28th, representatives from the administration and Public Works met with Maggie Blomgren from Senator Smith's office and discussed potential WRDA funding. We provided an update on where we're at with things after we reviewed the WRDA funding, which is the program that the board's been presented previously with the Army Corps of Engineers. That's very time consuming. We expressed uncertainty of the DNR's desire to proceed forward with a project of that nature. And then we also discussed some other possible programs that could be reviewed, so staying in touch with our congressional offices on this matter. We did also provide them with some dam removal 30% drawings for their reference and use in future conversations and walk them through that. On the 29th, we participated in a meeting with BAR and the DNR, MPCA, and the Corps, so another follow-up to our initial meeting where we were able to kind of hone in on the scope of the work. We discussed the H&H modeling that BAR had already shared with the DNR. The DNR expressed concerns about leaving the base of the dam and the downstream apron in place, which was what was proposed in the 30% plans. They're concerned about hazard of as that deteriorates over time, rebar sticking up and loss of recreation or danger in the river. So they do agree with leaving the old deep concrete apron in place since it's effectively just grouted riprap, but the reinforced steel apron, they're leaning towards it needing to come out. We discussed the current FEMA funding status and that we have the ongoing need for the $10 million that's included in the DNR dam safety program that could go towards our project. They expressed general support for proceeding forward with the design as we had discussed and as we had previously discussed. The DNR also had some interesting comments that the upstream river basin is already revegetating, which is good to see. A few growing seasons will really help that area, they said. And one even stated that they believe that what was lost in the lower river reach was gained in the upper reach of the river and that when the dam is removed, the overall river recreational value may be better than before the flood event.
Oh, that's nice
So
to
that was
hear.
interesting to hear, yes. On the 29th, we met with BAR, discussed the bridge foundation, several other things on kind of our regular business meetings. On the February 2nd, we held a check-in meeting with FEMA. FEMA had just very shortly before sent spreadsheets detailing the proposed repair quantities and payment. The proposed FEMA funds are all relocation costs, not full restoration costs for the lost property. FEMA made several assumptions for real estate acquisition. We discussed the future land use that they weren't aware of, being proposed as a sand and gravel mine. The county bar needs significant time to review those complex spreadsheets. And in general, we expressed our frustration and that we're taken back by this approach that was never discussed with us. And FEMA, effectively, they're looking at the most cost-effective approach. And what they're proposing is just sheet piling walls coming off the end of the dam into the earthen embankment that's there. There's several questions and concerns with that. We followed up with BAR on February 2nd. The funding level proposed by FEMA was much lower than anticipated. We don't think the DNR, Corps, or the FERC would even permit what they're proposing to do. So I think we've got to follow up once we didn't get good detail from FEMA. I'll back up to that. What we got was basically a beacon printout with a red line drawn on it. So it was not helpful whatsoever. So we were having to try to reverse engineer and figure out what they were even proposing. Again, we don't even think it's feasible to drive sheet piling deep enough into the bedrock to contain adequate structural strength to to build it, what they're proposing.
I mean, this is crazy. We're not even going to do this. You know, we're spending
Right.
hundreds of thousands of dollars engineering something we're not going to do.
Yep.
Right.
And we have no intentions of doing.
Right.
We're trying to come up with a number. So this is frustrating to sit here and listen to this, and I can't imagine what you go through every day. But this is just, it just makes no sense to me whatsoever. And I appreciate you pushing back and trying to make them come up with something, because to me it's as simple as, again, I'm oversimplifying it, but they need to just come up with quantities to fill that void and get it back to where it was and come up with a number, and then we negotiate it. To come up with a whole other design just makes no sense to me. So I can't even imagine the frustrations you're going through when I sit here and listen to it for 5 minutes and want to go out the back door. So
Very high level of frustration. I
Okay.
appreciate your understanding of that. So we're going to be working with the DNR and the Corps and the FERC to get correspondence related to the FEMA approach and push back against it. We may also engage our congressional delegation on this, and we started brainstorming some contingency plans if we do need to look at reducing scope to remove the dam maybe initially and then later stabilize the slope.
I might just jump in here and kind of reiterate what Ryan is saying. I've sat in on some of these meetings, and it was astonishing to me that part of FEMA's presentation to us with the spreadsheet was a piece of graph paper that they drew some lines on. And that was some of their engineering work that they were sharing with us as a part of what was it? I don't know. It was a multi-million-dollar offer, so to speak, but it comes on that kind of detail. It really was disappointing at the level of providing information that then we could fact check and negotiate with them on. So I appreciate Ryan's work in terms of asking for additional engineering information from FEMA. They've sort of gone dark on us. Part of it's the federal shutdown, but part of it's, I think, the pushback. We're hoping we get a more refined and detailed estimate that we can really evaluate, but this was a complete surprise and a very disappointing one.
All the way through our initial conversations with them when we started to gain an understanding of this process was that they were supposed to work with us and have BAR engaged on coming up with a feasible solution for this hypothetical repair.
Right.
And so then we had radio silence since, I believe, late November, and just out of the blue, this pops up, here's your number, here's your proposed repair. So very frustrating, to the point where actually HSEM on that call on February 2nd with BAR after this meeting stated they weren't surprised at all by this, by their lack of communication, that this is how FEMA typically will operate, which is very concerning to hear. We tried to avoid getting to, I mean, we anticipated that this could happen, and we went to every effort we could to try to avoid it, yet here we sit. So it is incredibly frustrating. So again, we're working on, is this even permissible by dam safety standards? The answer, I think, is going to certainly be no.
Part of the concern that I think Ryan has shared is we were under the understanding that this estimate that FEMA is working on would restore the dam to pre-disaster condition. Putting some sheet piling does not restore that area to the pre-disaster condition, in our opinion. You know, it doesn't allow you to drive up to the dam. It leaves a large void with basically a piece of metal in there. That just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, so after a sleepless night, I exchanged emails with FERC regarding their proposed repair and scope and emphasized several points. For the scope of this project, the dam must be returned to pre-flood conditions or equivalent. Project must be feasible for both construction and for necessary approvals from the FERC and the DNR regarding the hydropower license exemption. As part of our due diligence, we'd be vetting the FEMA approach with hypothetical repairs in depth. We'll be taking those to the regulatory agencies, letting them know that we would be doing that. And with that being said, we need much more detailed drawings and a more detailed narrative on their proposed construction scope dimensions. And as Bob stated, driving over the dam, not only driving, but being able to take an 80,000 pound loaded vehicle for maintenance, so a concrete truck or a crane or things of that nature out onto the deck of the dam like we had previously been able to do to perform routine maintenance or other activities as needed. We have no idea if their proposed sheet pile approach would be able to facilitate taking a fully loaded legal vehicle across it. We'd also be comparing their national prices used to regional construction prices, since we commonly see higher prices here due to, you know, seasonal fluctuations, things of that nature, limited work time windows with respect to the weather. And I also pointed out it's very important to note that the private property directly west of the dam that they had just made assumptions on us acquiring it has already gone through a high level of permitting and work for use as a sand and gravel mine. And obviously the aggregate value would dramatically drive up the value of that property. Even acquisition of it would be highly questionable. On February, to close that out with all the emails I traded with them, I didn't get any answers back. Just leave it at that.
So you weren't trading?
No, I was getting kind of, we'll look into it. On February 9th, we participated in a FERC license surrender meeting. On February 11th, we participated in a dam design options meeting. We discussed the anticipated future channel. The DNR believes the base of the dam, again, needs to be removed after further analysis because they want it down below the river level, not at the river level. They want more of a natural substrate or river bottom. We also touched on the FEMA hypothetical repair scope. The DNR didn't think it would be permissible, but they would want more detail before they would issue any kind of correspondence on it. The DNR's primary focus is removing the dam and reestablishing fish passage. I don't know that stabilization of the slope is the top of their priority. Yeah. So it's good to understand that, I think, from our agency standpoint, that that's really what they want to get done. And so with that, you know, we agreed, the county, if we're going to have to remove the apron at a future date, let's get it done now. Let's not go back into the river again if we don't have to. Let's get that apron in the base of the dam out if that's going to be something. We were just looking at a more cost-effective proposed solution. On the 12th of February, met with BAR under the preliminary review.
We're not moving on.
Sorry, I'm putting everybody to sleep. Anyway, they don't think it's really feasible. They're going to start at a high level and then move to a lower level for digging into FEMA's numbers. We may not. We talked about, you know, just plan development and approach, and they believe that the river, if we're going to take out the old apron, the river is going to be at a lower elevation and may reduce the amount of riprap needed at the levee and the toe of the slope stabilization. So that could be a cost-saving measure, while the cost to get the apron will go up. So that was kind of good news. We discussed alternate approach to constructing the west levee and possibly using it instead as the park access road. So having the park access road come down on the levee and then go back up into the park, reestablishing that, could hypothetically turn the project into a two-phase project where possibly you could get the dam out, build the levee, get the river back on its alignment, and leave the slope unstabilized, and then come back at a second project and do slope stabilization. We're still vetting that. We're still working through, could that hypothetically be an option if we have to go to a plan B due to dramatic funding shortfalls? It would give us possibly the opportunity to look for more cost-effective borrow sites, perhaps using some material that comes off as overburden off of the sand and gravel pit, things of that nature, or future projects, major trunk highway projects, something like that, that's going to generate fill that we could utilize. So again, we're vetting that process right now and looking at it as a possible way to break it into smaller bites if it would help from a funding standpoint, keeping things moving. BAR will be sending a change order for the EAW and FERC license surrender overruns due to the change in the project limits. Originally, we had obviously the $88 million project, and now we're down to 38. They had to re-permit everything, so I just received that. I'll be bringing that in for the April board meeting. On February 23rd, as Bob had alluded to, I received an email from Delaney Walsh stating that due to the lapse in federal government funding, FEMA is unable to participate in any meetings or communication with external stakeholders at this time. Once the government funding lapse is resolved, FEMA will reach out to reschedule any canceled meetings or communication. For general information and updates, visit FEMA.gov. We appreciate your understanding and patience at this time. So it's been radio silence again since February 23rd. On the 17th of February, we vetted the possible approach to the removal of the dam and the use of the levee with Bob and Josh. And then on the 20th, we met with county staff to coordinate efforts to fill a public data request received on the 13th. On the 23rd, staff met to discuss feasibility of performing contract administration and construction inspections with county staff. Sorry, that one came over from the bridge. On February 23rd, we submitted comments on the draft EAW to BAR Engineering. On February 24th, we e-filed the updated Section 106 documents with the FERC. On February 24th, I also e-filed an updated dam surrender application that included maps of the old and revised project limits, the wetland delineation report, and KMZ project limits shapefiles to the FERC. So that should get the FERC moving on the license surrender now. They have everything that they've been waiting on.
Well, that's good to hear.
I hope so. Fingers crossed. So that concludes my report. Be happy to answer any questions on that or anything else we've covered. Sorry for taking so long.
You've been a busy person.
It's been incredibly busy, thank you.
So after the FERC surrenders our license, then we can move more aggressively with removing the dam, or what other obstacles do we
FERC
have?
license surrender, to my understanding, is going to be contingent on dam removal, so they're going to be involved through dam removal.
Okay, but they'll give us the green light to take it
Yes,
out, I'm
that'll be the
assuming?
green light to move forward, and then obviously necessary permits, which are kind of, we'll work through in the NEPA and the EAW process. And then obviously filling that funding question mark.
It's interesting that we've been working with the FERC for long before the flood.
Correct.
And it's just disheartening, but
It is.
All right.
Okay, thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, let's move on to the county attorney.
Thank you. Mr. McDermott did submit the monthly report. If there's any specific questions, please let me know and I can try to get those answered.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you for being here, Megan.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, administration, Bob.
Well, Madam Chair and Commissioners, the first items of the county board minutes for February 17th.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Next are the bills for the 2 weeks indicated.
I'd move the bills.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Tab 8 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. We have one policy that we'd like to bring in front of the board today, and so Director Elvebach is here to present that information.
Director Elvebach. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I am here this morning to recommend the approval of an updated non-DOT or Department of Transportation drug and alcohol testing policy. You should have the board request, which outlines some of the background and purpose for the revision, which really is primarily to comply with recent changes in Minnesota law and the legalization of adult use marijuana. The policy clarifies when testing can occur, such as pre-employment, reasonable suspicion, post-accident, and random testing for safety-sensitive positions, and defines these roles. It reinforces that employees may not use, possess, or be impaired by drugs, alcohol, or cannabis while working on county premises, regardless of the legal status. It preserves employee protections, including confirmatory tests, notice requirements, privacy safeguards, and the opportunity for rehabilitation as required by law. By adopting this updated policy, the board will ensure that there's legal compliance, reduced liability exposure, clear expectations to employees and applicants, and continued protection of public safety. I am here to answer any questions that the board may have.
Look good to me.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing how long marijuana stays in your system, is there a length of time? Is there any, is it any use at all?
I would have to.
That affects our staff?
Yeah, I would have to review that and talk to we have a medical review officer. That would be the one that would get test results and work with the employees in the event that there would be a positive test. Often there's follow-up and potential another test that can be available.
All right,
I can get
thank
you that information. But yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good question because, alcohol doesn't stay.
Right.
Right. That's, it's not apples to apples.
Right.
No. It's not.
Yep.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Yep.
So we need a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second it.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Well, then, Madam Chair, under informational items, we do have a promotion of a social worker in our disability services area to the human service supervisor position that was vacant. We've initiated recruitment to refill that social worker in our disability services area, so item C references that. And backing up to item B, we have also initiated recruitment to fill a public health specialist in our SHIP employee, if you're familiar with that role. Then we had a resignation of an assistant county attorney, so we've initiated recruitment to refill that position. We also had a resignation of a part-time correctional officer in our jail and have initiated recruitment to refill that position. We also had a resignation of a sergeant in our jail. We have held off on recruiting to refill that position at this time. And then we filled a number of positions, a part-time correctional officer in the jail. We filled a 911 telecommunicator in the sheriff's office and our dispatch center. And then we also filled a part-time jury attendant. We also have received a resignation of a maintenance technician 1 in our public works area, and so we've initiated recruitment to refill that position. We also have filled a on-call library clerk position at the library. And then finally, we did have a social worker who had resigned their position but opted to rescind their resignation and pursue another opening within the county. So a worker that we were comfortable with expressed interest in one of these vacant positions, and so we accepted that rescission. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have on any of those items.
Well, sounds good.
All right, then tab 9 in your packet is a memorandum regarding off-site gambling permit. The Waseca Hockey Association has requested an off-site gambling permit to conduct gambling activities at Indian Island Winery for an event on April 25th. Their application has been reviewed, and we're recommending approval of that off-site gambling permit.
So moved.
And a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Tab 10 in your packet then is a memo regarding a 2026 3-2 liquor license. We've received an application from the Cato Cycle Club for a 3-2 on-sale liquor license effective April 1st through March 31st of 2027. That application has been reviewed, and we're recommending approval.
So moved.
And a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all the administrative items I have for you today, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Bob. So we'll move on to commissioner reports on committees. Kevin?
Since our February 17th board meeting, I participated in the work session after that. February 18th, I attended Congressman Finstead meeting in Austin, as well as the JD 40 landowner meeting. On February 19th, the True Transit Joint Powers Board met. On the 20th, participated in the NACO Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. Talked a lot on the SNAP cost ships, the error rates, especially those error rates out of our control. Had the opportunity to have face-to-face discussions with the USDA Deputy Secretary, the Ag Committee Chairman G.T. Thompson, as well as Senate Ag Committee staff. Visited with both senators and 7 of our 8 congressional members about our concerns with the SNAP cost shifts and the error rate using against things out of our control. And then on this morning, prior to board meeting, we had a JD 36 meeting. That concludes my report.
Kim?
After the last board meeting, I did not have a lot of committee assignments, but we had the board work session and then the ditch meeting this morning that was already mentioned. But I will tell you, I have been spending a lot of time on County Ditch 88, 77, and 63. So a lot of landowner meetings and talking with a lot of folks out there on those ditch systems, one-on-one meetings with lots of people.
I hope you get that all set out before.
We're
it comes
working on
here.
it. There's just a lot of stuff to go through, but we're getting through it.
Appreciate it. Vance?
All right, I also attended the county board work session on the 17th. On the 19th, we had Transportation Alliance Day at the Capitol, where we met with numerous different representatives and senators from the state. From the 20th through the 24th, I attended the National Association of Counties Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. And let me see here. On the 26th, we had our final meeting for the Highway 169 Corridor Coalition, and had a nice meeting and talking, and showed how many things that we have taken care of over the last years. I've been a member there for 15 years, but it's only 17 years old. It was only 17 years old, so I guess I got in there towards the beginning. But it was a nice meeting. Yesterday, I had an executive board meeting for MRCI, and that's the end of my report.
Mark?
Okay, I just have, of course, the after the board meeting last time, also the only other thing was the February 21st Pedal Pass Poverty took place and raised about 55,000 plus, so that was good. Appreciate everybody's help. Yep. That's not the highest we've been, but
that's pretty good.
Yep. So thank everybody for that. That concludes.
All right. The February 17th workshop I attended also. I went to the Transportation Alliance at the Capitol, and we did meet with a heck of a lot of people, a lot of
Yeah, we
running
did.
around. NACO, the 20th to the 24th, which was, I thought, a pretty successful meeting. And March 1st, I had a TDS Bylaws and Policy Committee meeting, and that concludes my report. So I would entertain a recess motion.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. And we are recessed.